Hi, everyone, and thank you for that legendary panel and discussion. So much to think about. Um, I want to just say a few words before I share this performance. I did an attempt of performing Geri Allen's music, but I chose a few pieces of hers, and there are so many to choose from. I thought it would be good to have a moment of Feed the Fire, a celebration of this wonderful conference. Um, Also, there's a quote, there's a little bit of her piece in appreciation, a celebration song, which is, of course, in celebration of Geri Allen and all that she's done. And then in celebration of her spirituality, from her album A Child is Born, I include Let Us Break Bread Together. And then my favorite piece overall of hers is Unconditional Love, and that's in celebration of what she and her legacy embody. And then I close the set with a piece of mine called Eternal Rest, and that's in tribute to and in memory of Geri Allen. So I hope you enjoy. In honor of Geri Allen. Thank you.
Michael, you want to start, or should I go?
Sure. Well, we were just going to pop on, Ellie and I, to thank everybody. I mean, this has just been an incredible day, and just wanted to say thanks one more time to our incredible keynote panel, Farrah Griffin, Gina Dent, Angela Davis, and Terry Lynn Carrington. I also wanted to thank our ASL interpreters for the day, Ariel Johnson and Frank Perales. We're going to send around a few links after the symposium as well, about anyone who's interested in making donations to the Geri Allen Jazz Camp at NJPAC, as well as about how to subscribe to the journal if you're interested in getting the Geri Allen issue that's coming out. I'll pass it on. Ellie, did you have any thanks as well?
Yeah, so I wanted to say, Courtney, that was amazing. That was just perfect. So I just I felt so much connection between you to Geri to back to the ancestors, what she was talking about that day to you. And thank you to Fred for that amazing set of readings you did. I think we'll be thinking about that for a long, long time. And I also wanted to thank all of the speakers. You came for this momentous occasion, and we'll be hopefully in dialogue for a long time. And just about the Geri Allen Jazz Camp. So it has been such a tough time financially for so many people, including institutions, even Columbia and University of Pittsburgh. I've been very touched in doing fundraising for this event that people really opened their pocketbooks when they had very little to contribute because they thought this event was worth supporting. So I wanted to thank every single sponsor that we had. And if you, the attendees, got something out of this day, if you could contribute something, even a small amount, to the Geri Allen Jazz Camp, that would be very meaningful. So I think we'll turn it over to Bob then.
Okay. I think it's appropriate to just take a moment and feel thankful for the wonder of Courtney Bryan's presentation and for the beauty and comprehensiveness and eloquence of the panel preceding it, including great Fred Moten. I want to say that for my own part, I'm very full and feeling very, very grateful. My job is not a possible one. I'm to offer some words of summary and to give us a send-off. I would say that we've heard about compactness. We've heard about a way of walking down the street in love. We've heard about a paradisical garden and garden hoe, ointment and anointment, kisses off schedule. We felt like reading from the Book of Thunder. We're told not just to cite Black women, but to recite Black women. We're told that the function of freedom is to free someone else. We've been meditating on what the intensity of leaving space means, and on collective leadership, as opposed to a bourgeois democratic sense of individuality or leadership, or even of democracy itself as a bourgeois creation. We've been asked to think about new structures of being and ways of knowing. Jazz without patriarchy is a great motto indeed. We've heard about low-key militancy and militancy in the keys as something we can take as a take-home message. You go someplace, I'll follow you. Abby Lincoln spoke to us once, and she said that she said, "Go ahead and make some mistakes. And I'll be there I'll make them with you, and we'll make music that way." We were told about making the roots visible and inhabiting contradiction, as the blues can do, fully inhabiting the moment. And perhaps above all, we heard about unconditional love. I'll leave you with a couple of anecdotes concerning Geri Allen, and then I'm done. I met her at about 2000, year 2000. We were leaving the Blue Note Club where we'd heard the great Hank Jones on piano. And someone introduced me to Geri Allen, whom I recognized as we were leaving. And I said, Hank Jones. And she said, oh yes, he was one of my teachers, one of my models. And she said, I always felt with Hank that I was in a boat on a clear lake, and the way he touched the piano was like putting his hand softly in that water. She said, that's part of what I want in my own music too. My next reminiscence comes shortly after that, about 2001. She came to a jazz study group, faculty, graduate student seminar, and settled in to make a presentation. And she looked across the table and she saw someone from the New York Times. And she said, I know I'm not seeing. And then she pulled out her notebook and she said, you know what? You were reviewing my concert and you said it was incomplete sounding. And you knew very well that I'd been called at the last moment to fill in, and that I had told everyone that I had, for this new composer series of works in progress, something that was a little bit underdone, but which had its own sense of direction. And you took me to the cleaners in public anyway. And the guy whose name I won't call said, oh no, I think you're exaggerating. And she said, am I exaggerating? And then she went and had copies Xeroxed of the article that he had written. And she said, you can, and everyone could see that she was telling the truth. And she said, you know, you mustn't do that. And I happened to have been at that concert too. And the excitement of hearing Geri Allen's work in progress and to see how she was reaching for things and trying to solve problems was so thrilling. And the idea that something so fantastically exploratory in its energies was wrong because it was unfinished was simply ridiculous. She told us that day at the jazz seminar that she was very often the only woman in the studio, small woman. She walks in and some of the studio cats, you know, looking like, who's that coming in here? And she said that so she would routinely get to the piano and hit a few chords. She would do what she called, she said, I would lay down some iron for them to hear. I'll lay down some iron, hit some chords. And they said, wait a minute, where are we? And she would look up as if to say, oh, you don't know quite where you are now. And then they would understand that she was part of this, that she was going to be actually the leader of the session on that day. She would lay down that iron. I saw her at Duke University at a Romare Bearden opening, and she did a tribute to Mary Lou Williams in the auditorium that was just off the exhibition hall. And there we heard Geri Allen doing a tribute to the great Mary Lou, and that was so exciting to hear. But she also had Romare Bearden in the background and her own collage-like evocation of that artist, and how exciting it was that she could bring visual art and this tribute to Mary Lou, who's so devoted to making you see and feel the roots in the music, all together in that presentation. The last anecdote I'll tell is I was in Paris and Geri was being presented at a jazz festival there, and I didn't have tickets, and I couldn't get tickets, and I called Farah, my friend back home in New York. I said, what are we gonna do? I can't. And she said, well, just call Geri. I said, well, I just called. And she gave me her number. And I was like, Miss Allen, I was the guy at the jet. I met you. And she said, of course I remember you. Come on, I'll leave tickets for you at the door. And at that concert, she played a grand piano that circled the stage, that revolved. She and a guitarist were playing together. And you could hear her watching him make mistakes and going in and catching him and playing with him. And you could feel her laying down some iron. You could feel that soft hand in the water as well. And afterwards, I went backstage to thank her. And she said, well, come on, go get something to eat. And we went across the street and had dinner. And she was talking about Detroit, and I knew she was from Detroit because she's talking about Dwight Andrews, and she called him the White. And then she said, and they know homegirl knows homeboy. And at that point, she was talking about DC, where I'm from, and Howard University. And she was just regular folks. She was radiant. She was funny. She was eating, and she was hungry. And it was great to be with her. She made you want to be better than you had planned on being, because she was so full of integrity. She was so full of honesty. She was so generous in her personal culture. But that's what I want to leave you with, this idea that she could lay down the iron when it came time to do that, but she could also remind you of the beautiful fluidity and the loveliness of putting your hands on the piano as if waving them through the water. She's somebody that I didn't know well, but I can love that spirit, and I exalt that memory, and I thank God for this day and for the people who planned it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. With that, I think we have ended our days 5 minutes early. So thank you, Michael, also for editing the issue. It's an incredible issue, and this day emerged out of that.
Thank you, Ellie. It's been an absolute pleasure to organize this with you. And as I said, contact me with more work on Geri Allen. We still want to publish more for everyone who was inspired today. So thank you all for being here, and have a great evening.
Oh my God, I cried like 2 times today.
I did too. Yeah, at least three times.
I don't want to go.
I know, it's hard to push leave. Kay, are we still live with an audience? Just curious.
We are. There's still 60 people.
Oh, okay. Hello, 60 people.
Just know that anything we say is being heard.
Yes. Well, I thought it was, yeah, amazing day.